Your toilet with the rust ring and brown streaks? Rust that no brush can touch? You've bought gels in brightly colored bottles for $12 and nothing. Because rust is a chemical compound and a brush is just as powerless against it as bare hands. But there are 3 simple methods that will fix this. None of them require double-layered gloves and a filtered respirator, and the cheapest costs less than $1 per pack, enough for 2 years. None of the 3 methods I'm about to describe features in any advertising campaign. Not because they don't work, because they cannot be scaled into a sellable product. Rust is not a coating, it is a new material. Iron combined with water and oxygen forms iron oxide, Fe2O3, a crystalline structure that literally grows into the microscopic pores of the porcelain glaze. A brush cannot remove something that doesn't sit on top of the surface but has grown into it. This is where citric acid comes in, and it's important to understand what makes it different from ordinary vinegar or lemon juice. Citric acid is polycarboxylic. It has 3 carboxyl groups, each capable of bonding to an iron ion. Think of a citric acid molecule as a hand with 3 fingers. It grips an iron ion from 3 sides simultaneously and pulls it out of the crystalline lattice of the oxide. This process is called chelation, from the Greek chele, a crab's claw. At a concentration of 5 to 10% in water, with a pH of around 2 to 3, citric acid begins dissolving iron oxide within 20 to 30 minutes for light rust. Heavy rust requires 8 hours. The chelate complex that forms, iron citrate, dissolves completely in water and is flushed away when you flush. The iron ion is gone for good. The porcelain remains undamaged. And all of this comes from an acid your body produces in every cell as part of the Krebs cycle.
In 1784, Swedish chemist Carl Wilhelm Scheele first isolated citric acid from lemon juice in pure form. But long before him, as early as the 9th and 10th centuries, Arab alchemists documented that acidic extracts from citrus fruits dissolved metallic oxides. They didn't know the word chelation, but they knew the result. Citric acid entered industrial production in the 1890s, initially extracted exclusively from Sicilian lemons. By 1900, Sicily held what was effectively a monopoly on its industrial production. The Aranella Company in Palermo was the world's largest producer. In 1917, American food chemist James Curry discovered that the common mold Aspergillus niger produces citric acid from sugar molasses at industrial scale. 6 years later, in 1923, Pfizer launched the first industrial production facility in the United States. Today, citric acid is produced in hundreds of thousands of tons per year. It's in your lemonade, in your shampoo, in your cough tablets, and it's in the little $1.29 packet in the baking aisle of your supermarket. The same packet that removes what the $12 rust gel cannot.
And then, silence. Not because citric acid is inferior to synthetic competitors, because a $1 packet cannot be sold with a margin large enough to fund a television campaign. The market for specialized rust removal products in the United States runs to approximately $400 million per year. Look at a bottle of Iron Out at Target, $8.99, or Lime Away Rust, $5.49 for a smaller volume. Both contain stronger acids, hydrochloric or oxalic. They work faster, but they also release sharp fumes, require ventilation, and are not suitable for weekly use on porcelain. I'm not saying these are bad products, but there is a pattern that's hard to ignore. Citric acid in a Milliard or Anthony's pack runs $1.29 to $1.99 in the baking aisle at Walmart or on Amazon. One pack covers 10 to 15 toilet treatments. Cost per session, under 15 cents. Per year, around $1.80. The business model of branded rust removers works like a subscription. Buy the bottle, use it, throw it away, buy again. Citric acid breaks out of that cycle. It keeps for years, costs almost nothing, and is available in the same store, just in a different aisle, without bright packaging and without a marketing budget. This wasn't banned. It was erased by economic gravity. Money goes where there is margin. And the margin on a packet of crystals in the baking aisle is negligible. Citric acid as a chelating agent for iron oxide removal is confirmed across industrial chemistry, the food industry, and conservation practice. Museums use citric acid solutions to clean metal artifacts of corrosion, precisely because it does not damage the base metal once the oxide layer has been removed. But I want to be honest about the limitations. Citric acid is effective against rust, iron oxide. It is significantly weaker against calcium limescale, the hard mineral deposits from hard water. If your toilet has both the reddish color and white or grayish rings, you need to address both problems separately, or with the combined method I'll describe shortly.
Next, citric acid is not a disinfectant. It removes visual stains and mineral deposits, but does not kill bacteria. After use, normal disinfecting cleaning is still needed if that matters to you. And finally, if your rust is caused by corrosion in the pipes inside the plumbing system, citric acid will treat the symptom, not the cause. The rust will return. In that case, pipe diagnostics are needed, not just surface cleaning. If the pipes are fine and the problem is iron in the water or aging glaze, then everything you need is already sitting in the baking aisle of your supermarket. You will need a packet of citric acid, $1.29 to $1.99 at Walmart, Target, or Amazon, a toilet brush or an old toothbrush, and an evening. First, lower the water level. Turn off the supply valve behind the toilet and flush once. The bowl will empty by 70 to 80%. If there's no valve, just flush and don't refill. Dissolve 4 tablespoons of citric acid in half a cup of warm water. This gives you a concentration of around 10%, which is optimal for porcelain. Pour the solution over the rusted areas, focusing on the rim and the bottom. For vertical surfaces, soak several layers of paper towels in the solution and press them against the stains. This keeps the acid on the surface rather than letting it run off. Leave for 8 hours. Overnight is most convenient. In the morning, give it a gentle scrub. The rust comes off with almost no effort. And flush. Heavy, years-old rust may need a second session the following night. 2 sessions handle 95% of cases.
Total active effort, 10 minutes. Cost, 15 cents. Compare that to $8.99 for Iron Out, which requires an open window and no eye contact. Now let's talk about something most Americans have in their kitchen and almost never associate with cleaning a toilet. Coca-Cola contains phosphoric acid. That is what gives the drink its characteristic sharpness and a pH of around 2.5. It belongs to the same class of acid used in industrial rust removers for metal, just at a much lower concentration. Phosphoric acid reacts with iron oxide and converts it into soluble iron phosphate, which washes away with water. Unlike citric acid, which grabs the iron ion and pulls it away, phosphoric acid simply breaks the bond between the rust and the surface. A cruder mechanism, but for fresh and surface-level rust, it is enough. Testing has shown that 1 can of Coca-Cola, left overnight, lightens light to moderate toilet rust by 40 to 50% with no scrubbing at all. For fresh rust, 1 session is often sufficient. For old, deep-set rust, the method is less effective than citric acid and needs repeating. There is a detail worth understanding. The carbonation, the fizz, does almost nothing to remove rust. It's mechanical agitation that loosens the most friable deposits slightly. All the real work is done by the phosphoric acid. This is why Diet Coke works less well, not because of the absence of bubbles, but because it has a different acid profile and lower phosphoric acid concentration. Always use regular. Why isn't this talked about? It's straightforward. Coca-Cola has no interest in promoting its product as a toilet cleaner. That destroys the brand. And rust remover manufacturers have no interest in you learning that a 75-cent can solves the same problem as their $8.99 bottle. So both sides stay quiet. Not a conspiracy. Simply 2 different motivations producing the same outcome: silence. Important warnings. Never mix Coca-Cola or any other acid with chlorine bleach. Chloramines form, a gas that irritates the respiratory tract. Rinse with clean water after the treatment so that the sugar residue doesn't attract bacteria. Lower the water level as you would for citric acid. Pour 1 to 2 standard cans, 12 ounces each, directly onto the rusted areas, especially under the rim. Leave for an hour or overnight for better results. Give it a light scrub and flush. Cost: $1 to $1.50 for 2 cans. Coca-Cola is not the most effective of the 3 methods, but it is the method that requires nothing you don't already have in your refrigerator right now. And finally, for cases where the rust is old, layered, and neither of the previous methods has delivered a complete result in a single night, borax on its own is a weak agent against rust. Its solution has an alkaline pH of around 9.2, and it is not an iron chelator. But it has a property that makes it an ideal partner for citric acid. It thickens the solution and helps hold the acid on vertical and angled surfaces. Citric acid alone is liquid. It runs off the toilet rim within minutes, cutting contact time short. Borax adds viscosity. Borax plus citric acid is not 2 products applied in sequence. It is a delivery system. One substance holds, the other dissolves. There is another effect that rarely gets mentioned. When borax is mixed with an acid, partial neutralization occurs with the release of heat. Nothing dramatic, but a local rise in temperature accelerates the chemical reaction between the acid and the iron oxide. Heat is a catalyst. This is why the paste works more effectively than a plain cold citric acid solution on the same surface. Why isn't this combination talked about? For the same reason as citric acid on its own. Borax costs $4.99 for a box that provides hundreds of uses. Citric acid, $1.29 per pack. Together, under $7. No company will earn enough from this to buy television airtime. The branded equivalent, a specialized heavy rust gel containing oxalic acid, costs $18 to $22 per bottle, requires gloves, requires ventilation, and delivers approximately the same result in approximately the same time. The only difference is the packaging and the marketing budget. The optimal recipe: 1 tablespoon of borax added to a 1/4 cup of warm water with dissolved citric acid to the consistency of a paste. Apply to the rusted areas with gloves or an old toothbrush. For the rim, soak several layers of paper towels in the paste and press them to the surface. They will maintain contact for 8 hours. In the morning, minimal effort with a brush and flush. 3 consecutive nights resolve even a decade of rust. At the start, I showed you a toilet with rust streaks that no brush can touch. Now you have 3 methods. Citric acid, a confirmed chelator used even by museum conservators. Coca-Cola from your refrigerator with phosphoric acid at pH 2.5 for light work and maintenance. And the borax and citric acid paste for heavy cases where you need 8 hours of contact on a vertical surface with no effort at all. Citric acid has been known since 1784. Coca-Cola has been removing rust since phosphoric acid entered its formula. The borax and acid paste is a folk practice that existed long before the bathroom products shelf started costing $480 a year.